Today we're tying a simple scud pattern on the Allen N203 hook. With these dubbing loop style scud patterns, it's very easy for the pattern to become really overdressed. The downside of an overdressed version like this is not only that the hook gap gets crowded as well as the eye, but on top of that, because the pattern is so bulky, it's not going to drop through the column as fast. Ultimately, you want the scud to still be fairly sparse while still giving off the right profile. That way it can drop through the water column faster and get to your desired depth. Start your thread about a hook eye behind the eye of the hook, and then work all the way back to the bend. Here, I'm going to tie in the textbook antennae of the scud using a partridge feather. I'll prep the fibers I want to tie in, but I'll leave them attached to the stem. So there, I've got them about the length I want. Just got to take the hook out of the vise to check them, put the hook back in the vise, make sure they're trapped down, and then I'll trim that free. Now I'm going to take a half dozen wraps of lead right at the center of the pattern. This is going to serve two purposes. First of all, it's going to help the scud get down faster in the water column. Second, it's going to help with the shape of the scud body. Don't taper out your body just yet, as first you want to tie in the wire that you're going to use to segment the body, and then the shellback. I'm going to use a small slip of the shellback and taper the end just so it's easier to tie in. Now I can properly taper the body of the fly, covering this lead wrap with my thread. I'm going to form a dubbing loop. I'll bring my thread back to just behind the eye and lock it down with a couple half inches. Since I'm using ice dub, which is a fairly long dubbing material, I'm just going to tear the fibers in half before I put them into my dubbing loop. I don't need a super dense brush, so I've got my materials pretty well spread out here. Brush out your dubbing loop before you wrap it around the fly and remove any excess. Now, wrap it around the body of your fly, preening the fibers backward so that you don't trap too many of them down. Trap down the tip of your dubbing loop and trim it free. Here, I'm just going to throw a quick whip finish in just in case it tries to unravel. If I had left in all of this dubbing facing downward, it's going to be far too dense. So here, I'm going to trim away some of that extra dubbing material, just being careful not to trim through my thread. Now, bring your shellback forward and tie it down. Don't trim free the tip of your shellback just yet. Wrap your wire forward, segmenting the body of your scud. Just make sure not to trap down too much of your dubbing material. The shellback will want to twist during this step, so as you bring each wrap forward, just work the shellback back into the position you want. Now, trap down your wire, and then pull your wire and your shellback backward and whip finish underneath. Now, trim free your thread, your wire, and your shellback. For the final step, I'm simply going to form a smoother back to the fly using some UV adhesive. For this step, I want to make sure that all of my dubbing is away from the back of the fly. Confirm that you have the shape of the fly that you'd like, and then lock your UV adhesive in place. And there, you have a very simple scud pattern using a dubbing loop to create the body.